another town with a great music scene. We've got the War on Drugs from here. We've got the Roots came out of here. We've got, back in the day, at Hall & Oates, the Hooters and bands like that. TSOP, yeah, Philly Soul, man. So it's really great to be part of a through line of community. And, these stations, these non-com stations like I work for now and like some of the ones we mentioned, these stations are still able to do the thing that radio was best at back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and maybe is less so today, which is really be part of the local community.
Welcome once again to the Talking Archive. I'm Josh Jacobs, and our conversation concludes now with radio personality and music director of WXPN, Jim McGuinn. Now, Jim, tell us about your passion for the city of brotherly love.
Yeah. I mean, I love living in the city. It's great. I ride my bike to work or walk, and Philly is a great city because it has a lot of what bigger cities have, but it's easier to navigate and not as brutally expensive as some of those other cities. So it's a good place, whereas you feel like if you were in Boston or New York or something, you might have to go far across town, but it's a tighter kind of community and geographical community as well.
Yeah, it was easy to get around, I remember, which, you look at it, and it looks like it wouldn't be, but it actually was. It's kind of, optical illusion, I guess, or it fools the eye, but then it's like, hey, this is actually pretty easy to maneuver around and get through.
Yeah, and I'm specifically saying like the neighborhood that's called Center City, which would be like from the Delaware River to the Schuylkill River, and then I'm just over the Schuylkill River by 2 blocks where XPN is in what's called West Philly, which is where the universities are. But it's still only I'm at 30th, and the Delaware River, the end of Pennsylvania, is at basically first, 0, right? So it's like 30 blocks wide, and there's huge. There are, and I should say it's easy to get around. I'm not mentioning the fact that there's a huge chunk of Philadelphia that is not as easy to get to called the Great Northeast, but that's a whole other story. So, but the Center City area where a lot of the restaurants, a lot of the venues, a lot of the the sports stadiums are and stuff is pretty accessible.
What was interesting to me, I guess most surprising, was that Independence Hall is surrounded by high-rise buildings because Knott's Berry Farm in Orange County, California, has an exact replica of it that was built in 1966. And so on the brochure or that they hand out of Independence Hall at Knott's Berry Farm, they have the original one in Philadelphia side by side in a photo of the replica. But the original, the way they took the picture, it made it look like there was green grass all around, just like the replica has, but that's not the case. So that was kind of shocking to me. It's like, wait a minute, all these high-rise buildings are around Independence Hall. Just it's amazing how camera work can can oftentimes fool you, like on TV, making something look bigger than it really is.
Yeah, totally. Just like Prince in his platform shoes.
And that's right.
Independence Hall look like it's surrounded by grass. There is on one side it's surrounded by grass actually. So,
okay.
If you take the photo from the right angle, you can probably make that work.
That's right.
It is kind of cool, like being here because you do get a lot of tourism, and obviously there's a lot of history, and the architecture is kind of fascinating in town because. At one point, I lived in a house that was built in 1775, and that was pretty cool. So,
wow,
almost a European kind of feel, that you can get in Philly. And another town with a great music scene. We've got the War on Drugs from here. We've got the Roots came out of here. We've got, back in the day, at Hall & Oates and the Hooters and bands like that. So,
TSOP.
It's TSOP, yeah, Philly Soul, man. So it's really great to be part of a through line of community. And, these stations, these non-com stations like I work for now and like some of the ones we mentioned, these stations are still able to do the thing that radio was best at back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and maybe is less so today, which is really be part of the local community. And that means supporting local artists, and it means reflecting the taste and reflecting what's going on. We get the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. We program like your home team is going to the Super Bowl. The Phillies are on a run. Everybody gets a little, bounce in their step, and we're able to program to reflect that in a way that maybe commercial stations and stations that are in through more of a corporate, nationalized kind of posture are less able to reflect.
Oh yeah,
so it's kind of awesome. The non-com format is great place to be in 2025, and is still trying to fight the good fight for radio. I don't mean this in a just a looking back way, but there's, I think for a lot of people in radio, there's a sense of like, it's not what it used to be. Well, guess what? This is where it's kind of still what it used to be. And I feel very fortunate every day that I get to get up and come to work and do what I do and serve, 300,000 listeners in Philly and beyond. Maybe it's 500,000 if you count all of our audiences, but 300,000 in Philly, and forge that bond of community through music together.
Oh, definitely. I got a question. I'm sure there are a couple of specialty shows or lots of specialty shows on the weekends. I've noticed that with classic rock formats, commercial classic rock, they've forgotten completely about like the psychedelic rock of the late 60s. And, you don't hear songs like I Had Too Much to Dream Last Night by the Electric Prunes or Yellow Balloon by the Yellow Balloon, or even like the early psychedelic Grand Funk Railroad, for instance.
Sure.
Are there any specialty shows on your station that are classic rock with that forgotten, deep cut music that,
Yeah, I mean, being where we are in terms of that hybrid between discovery and celebration, I think we aim for an audience that's, we try not to make it so you have to be well-versed in a lot of different music to be able to enjoy the radio station. Like, I don't want to ever be too cool for school, right? But we try to figure out how to bring people in and share that music across generations, across genres. So it's in the mix, we, both the well-known songs by the, the Doors and the Stones and CSNY or whatever, or the Byrds or something, but also like, there aren't a lot of radio stations that probably have 15 Little Feat songs active in their library, or name a band, right? Like we have it, we're playing it. And one of our most popular shows, which is just, I guess you'd call it a show or a feature, our afternoon host, Dan Reed, he does a show called Highs in the 70s, and it's Monday through Thursday at 6:00. And in terms of the Nielsen ratings, it's one of our highest rated hours, or those 4 hours, across the week, right? So people tune in for that show, and it's the 70s, and the 70s can range from 1970 to 1979. So you've got like hippies to post-punk, right? But it's also like, he'll go deep. He'll play the hits, but he'll go way deep into stuff that I'll be like, I've never heard this band before, or like, how many radio stations play the band Budgie as much as we do, who was a Scottish band from the mid-70s, or whatever. So yeah, we do a lot of that. And then there's a lot of, the individual hosts have a lot of freedom. And the former main host of the World Cafe radio show is a guy named David Dye. And David is a legend that goes back to the early 70s freeform era in Philly radio. And he does a show on Sundays. It's called Dave's World, and it's literally anything he wants to play. And so he's also someone who's loves a lot of new music, but sometimes he'll play new music, and sometimes he'll be like, we're going to do all songs from this era, or we're going to do this, or we're going to play a ton of English 60s folk rock today, or whatever, whatever the theme might be. He can do anything he wants. And this is like one of our highest rated shows that we've got on the radio. So, and we do a lot of stuff where we'll do a weekend that's called Through the Years. And, this isn't rocket science. People have done this before, but every hour the music is from a different year. So it could be 2005, and the next hour could be 1968, and the hour after that could be 1984, And what's fun with that is that it's music that we play in our library, but normally it's in a mix, right? Normally you've got a mix of new music, old music. You've got one or two songs from 1968. But now it's like, oh no, we're going to do a whole hour. We're going to put that music back together into its context, and we're going to do a whole hour of 1968 or whatever. So, a few stations, XRT in Chicago does a feature on Saturdays, I think, that's called Flashback Saturdays. I have to check that what it's called now, but that's like a 4-hour dive into a single year. That's a cool show, and that kind of inspired me. And what we do, the Through the Years thing, is similar to a thing we did in Minnesota when I was at the Current. We did a similar thing, and it's all kind of the same idea, which is taking the music and the lifestyle, and when you're doing a year, you're kind of like, all right, it's 1968. Guess what? It was St. Louis Cardinals against the Detroit Tigers in the World Series. You start to tell those stories of what was going on in those years as well. That's a lot of fun. We're doing a thing next week that we haven't done. Now, one of our slogans is XPN, Vinyl at Heart. But what we don't do enough, and we're going to remedy next week, is we're going to do Vinyl Day. Turn off the computer, turn off the CDs, all the music on vinyl. And hosts are just bringing in their own records from home and playing them.
Wow.
So, we're going to publish the schedule. It's on the 10th of April. We're going to publish the schedule on Monday the 7th, but it's like different hosts are doing a different hour, different themed hours and stuff like that. So I think I'm doing an hour of 80s college rock. Oh, and then I'm doing a prog hour at 11 o'clock at night. So, there's all kinds of different hours and different themes, and it's going to be a blast. So,
and you can check that out.
And
you can check it out at xpn.org. That's xpn.org.
Thank you. Yes. And it's the first time, and hopefully we'll do it again, and we have an artist here from town, Adam Weiner. He plays in a band called Low Cut Connie, one of the best rock and roll bands in America in 2025. He's going to do an hour as well as a guest DJ in that day. So it's a bunch of our hosts just manning the turntables. And for some, it's like riding a bike. It's like, yep, this is how we did it. And for other hosts, they've never played a record on the radio before.
So repeat the name of that.
Certain age.
Repeat the name of that band again. It's Low Cut Connie.
Yeah, sure. Low Cut Connie.
Okay.
If you've never heard Low Cut Connie, you should check them out. They're a tremendous band out of the Philly region, and some of their fans are Bruce Springsteen and Elton John and Little Steven and a whole bunch of people. So Adam, the singer from that band, is going to man the turntables. Now he also did a radio show with us last year called the Connie Club, because the band's called Low Cut Connie Club, where he DJs and brings in, musician friends as guests and stuff like that. So he's somebody who worships, not worships. He's somebody that loves the medium, as well. So, it's great. We're afforded the opportunity, because we have a strong membership that supports the radio station. We're afforded the opportunity to take risks and have fun and bring people together. And that's sort of, to me, it's why I got into radio in the 80s, and it's what I'm still doing today.
Well, that's great. Jim, thanks for coming on. Anything you want to add before we go?
No, thank you for the time and for the chat. It was really fun. And also, it's great to be able to share some positive thoughts on the potential of radio, what it can do, what it has done, and what it hopefully will continue to do, bringing us together and moving us forward. So appreciate it.
And again, we've been talking with radio personality and music director Jim McGuinn. Check out his website at wxpn.org. That's wxpn.org to find out more about that wonderful AAA formatted radio station that features a wide variety of music. And until next time, this is Josh Jacobs for the Talking Archive. Keep your mind on the things above, and as you hit that open road, don't be a slow down spectator.